Okay, so are we ready? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You see that in part two of the speaking tests, you expected to be given a monologue or given a talk for approximately between 1 and 2 minutes. You're given a topic by examiner, and this is something what you're quite aware about. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Now here we've got some topics. Well, remember that we're not talking about part two, the speaking test now. Our main aim that we're working on this part of the lesson is part three of the speaking test, and we're going to look at what exactly is expected by examiner and by student in part three of the speaking test. But before we start part three, we just want to build a relation between part two and part three, and we'll see that how they both are related to each other. And this is why here we can see that we got three different cue cards that you are presented in part two of the speaking test, and by examiner you're given between 1 minute to think about your topic and make some notes. Now, one of the topics that you can see, or a cue card that you can see now on the screen, which says that describe an activity that you like doing. Now, in your answer, you should say where you do it, who you do it with, and why you enjoy it, and say what kind of people you would recommend to that activity and why. So that's one example of it. And if you look at the second one, it says talk about a book that you have read in the last year. So the topic is actually in the past. Now, if you just look at the differences between the first cue card and the second one, the first cue card is a card which is giving you a topic where you're being restricted to use present tense more often. Yes or no? But then if you look at the second cue card, it is something which is related to something that you did in past, because it says a book that you have read in the last year, and in your answer you should say why you decided to read that book. So decided, it means that you're being referred to use the past tense only, and how long you took to finish the course, or sorry, to finish reading the book, and what genre of the book was, and say if you would like to read something else by by the same author or not, and why. So before we go and build relation between this part and part three, why not that I invite you to talk about or you give a talk on these two topics now. So I will invite you one by one to give a talk to the first cue card and the second one. So Nigaran and Farooq, I would now give you exactly 1 minute. You can have a pencil and a paper. You can make some notes, and then I'll give you exactly 1 and 2 minutes to speak. Are you ready?
For the first one,
Yep. For the first one, yes.
so ready, mute, coding.
Okay, now I would like Farooq to talk about an activity that you like doing, and you make sure that you cover all the three prompts which are probably printed on the cue card. The first one is where you do it, and who you do it with, and why you enjoy this activity, and also say what kind of people you would recommend that activity to do and why. So remember that I would like you to be fluent when you're speaking. So I'm not expecting you to have long pauses, like, for example, I'd like
Yeah.
you to go, with the flow of speech, which means fluency. Try to be accurate in using your grammar and use different lexical resource. The most
Okay.
important thing here is the use of grammar, the tenses, and your fluency. Are you ready?
Yep. Ready.
Okay, so here we go. You have 1 or 2 minutes to give a talk now. Here we go.
Yeah. So I'm a person who really likes to do activities a lot, and I think one specific activity I really like is swimming or be at the seaside. Uh, I first started doing it when I was in Portugal. When I started to go on a swimming, it really relaxes. Your mind and body. And first I got a chance to go with my friends. Then because they wanted, I asked them, is there any place to have fun or to relax ourselves, because my field is very tough. So I went there and I do some swimming and some other stuffs. So I really liked it and really enjoyed it. And the reason is that because we have a long hectic day, and we work a lot, because my field belongs to those particular things which I have to create each and every day. I have to be innovative. For that, it requires a lot of thinking and stress. So so I really enjoyed it, doing that. And I'm really wanted to recommend those kind of people who are pretty much stressed and wanting to be relaxed. I think it's going to be very effective, because of swimming, no one bothers you what you are doing. You just go around and have a relaxed time. So I think that's the favorite one. That's your favorite
Okay.
activity ever. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And did you talk about the kind of people that you would recommend this activity to do and why?
Yes, I mentioned that I really want people to recommend it, because to whom they I recommend it to those people who had a very rough day, or their daily life is very tough.
Hmm.
For that, I recommended that.
Okay, that's excellent. Okay. Now, this is why you were talking about an activity that you like doing, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so remember, it's an activity, it's a part of a task where you're talking about only you, not people in general, not the things in general, but everything, anything which is connected, related to you only. Okay, and very soon we're going to build a relationship between this part two and part three. But before we go on, Nigaran, can you please speak for 1 and 2 minutes on the same topic, please?
Yes,
Mhm.
actually, I am having a sore throat badly, so I would like to make it clear that I hope that my voice is clear to you.
Mhm, yeah, it's fine, yes.
It's fine.
Mhm.
Okay, should I start?
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah. I am a person like I'm mostly a feminist person, so I like cooking, and I usually do it in my own kitchen. I don't like interruption of anybody, so I usually cook alone. I cook Pakistani food mostly because my family is fond of eating Pakistani food, and I enjoy it a lot. Whenever I see anything new in internet or any kind of recipe which is tempting, I really tried it at that moment. And I would recommend all the females to try cooking, because Allah has given taste to everybody's hand, so you should try it rather using or eating outside food. You should cook at your home. Everything you should cook at your home. Allah has given everybody some taste, and it's good that you should cook by your own, because when you cook, people usually appreciate you, and it's something really good, and you also enjoy it after cooking and having an appreciation about it. So I really love cooking. I mostly do it in my free time, and I usually cook spicy food as my husband loves it. I try different types of food every time. I try that there must be something new and innovation in cooking as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think you were doing a wonderful job. You really did very well. But the few things that I'd like to talk about, number one, there's a highly likely possibility that you might your band score might fluctuate. It might fall from 2.5 one band because of certain reasons. And I think one of the reasons that I would like to highlight in your speaking is that if you
Yeah.
repeat yourself what you said already before. Now, in your speaking, you said something earlier, and I noticed that you said it, again a second time. You were repeating yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
So I should not repeat any of them.
Well, I'm not saying that you should not repeat yourself, but I'm saying that you must not repeat yourself.
Okay.
Okay. And secondly, because you're talking about things in general, that people in general have tastes of cooking and they have different tastes in their hands. And people in general, you're talking about, what I believe is that this is second part of the speaking test is all about you. So you just have to talk about you, not people in general, okay? What people do in general, what people don't do in general, what
I'm
people
talking
cook in
about,
general, what people cook in general,
yes,
it should not be part of your speaking in the second part, because if you look at the three prompts here, the first one is where you do it. Okay, not because you said you do in the kitchen. Okay, but it's fine, do in the kitchen. You can say why do in the kitchen. Okay, because you might have a modern kitchen in your house, or because you have all the facilities in the kitchen, and because you might say that we have different kitchens in the house because it's a big house. Or you can say I do in the kitchen because you can say that we have all the amenities available, because you can provide the number of reasons why you do it in the kitchen. And sometimes you might plan it for example somewhere outside, okay, because you have
no,
some facilities outside the kitchen where you can cook
no.
something. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Photo, can you hear me? So this is one of the reasons you do it. Okay, Photo, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, regarding you can continue. I see that you are recording this session as well.
Yes.
Do send it, please.
Yeah. So that what happens in the second part of the speaking test. You have to restrict it to yourself only. So I hope you understand that.
Yes, but you said that I don't have to talk about general people. I said that I would recommend to all the females the last point.
Okay, I think you should go back to this recording when I send it to you. You said
Okay.
a lot of things in general about people in general, but that's fine. Okay, that's okay. Now we're going to stop here for a very short while, and I will ask you to go back to a Word document where we're going to read some description about part 3 of the speaking test, and we'll just see what exactly part 3 of the speaking test. Now, we're going to look at some of the tips for part of the speaking test, part 3, and you can see that here are some tips for part 3 of IELTS speaking test. As says that in part 3 of the speaking test, the examiner will ask further questions which are connected to the topic discussed in part 2. So, what we understand that you have just talked about, what was the topic again?
Topic? Last
What was
topic?
the what was the topic for part 2 of the speaking test that we just discussed now?
Favorite activity?
Yes, that's right. So if you read the sentence, you can see that in part 3 of the speaking test, examiner will ask further questions which are connected to the topic discussed in part 2. So it means that examiner will ask you questions which are connected thematically with part 2 of the speaking test. So, because you talked about an activity that you do or that you like doing, for example, examiner is going to ask you questions which are connected to an activity. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
But the difference is that in the second part of the speaking test, you were speaking only, and the examiner was just listening to you. So that was actually a long term, that was actually a monologue, and the examiner was just listening to you. However, in the third part of the speaking test, there will be a discussion. between you and the examiner. So examiner will question you about the topic, okay, that we discuss in part 2 of the speaking test. So the questions will be related to part 2 of the speaking test. Now the question is, what kind of topics are we expecting? So this part of the test is designed to give you the opportunity to talk about more abstract ideas and issues. So remember, the third part of the speaking test is where you will be talking about abstract ideas and issues. This is exactly the same what you will do um, in part in task 2 of IELTS writing task 2, okay? Because that's where you discuss abstract ideas, that's where you support your ideas, that's where you give reasons, and that's where you also support those reasons with examples. So in part 3 of the speaking test, you are going to do exactly the same. So it is a two-way discussion with the examiner and will last for approximately 4 to 5 minutes. Now, because part 3 is a discussion, you will be expected to give more detailed answer than in part 1. It's therefore to have strategy to help you to have a longer answer, to give longer answer. So we'll look at some of the tips here. Number 1, answer the examiner's question. Number 2, give the reasons why, provide examples, and offer an alternative opinion. So here we have a sample question and a sample answer. So it says that, do you think advertising influences what people buy? Now, number 1, you can see that the answer is, I think advertising affects the thing people buy, whether they are aware of it or not. So this is where, you know, the student has answered the question. Now she's giving a reason why. And this is exactly what you do in writing task 2 as well. The reason for this is that everywhere we go, we see advertisement on the street or on the side of the buses. Even when we are at home, we see adverts on the TV and on the internet. So that was the first reason. You give a second reason. Also, the amount of things that people buy nowadays has increased as society has become more consumerist. So you give it 2 reasons, and then you give an example. Take, for example, mobile phones. Almost everyone has a mobile phone that works, but many people still want to upgrade their phone to get newest or latest model. So that's an example. And then we have an alternative approach. Despite this, I still think we have the choice to decide what to buy, whether to buy. Advertising can influence us, but can't control us. So you can see that here you are answering the question. Here you are giving 2 different reasons. You're also supporting those reasons with examples, and you're giving an alternative approach to your answer, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, right. So, Farooq, if I ask you the
Yes.
same question, do you think advertising influences what people buy?
So, so do you want me to read the
Yeah.
answer or just
No, I wanted to give your own answer. Do you think advertising influences what people buy?
Yeah, yes, I think advertising influences uh, a lot because as because I experience that because I see the advertisement of a mobile phone which is not so good, but it is advertisement is very persuasive and appealing to me. So on the very next day or after very next day, I bought that phone. But while using that phone, I realized that it was just an advertisement that was good only, but not the phone. So I think advertising influences people a lot, in a bad way or in a good way, and it can turn very bad product in a good if the advertisement has been good because people get influenced by TV a lot. So I think yes, it influences people a lot.
Okay, thank you. Now, I think I would rate your answer to somewhere between 6 band or 6.5 band, but not a 7 band. And I'll give you a reason why I would restrict it to just 6 or 6.5 band. And one of the most important reasons that I see that I'm giving you 6 band or maybe 6.5 if I'm trying to be a bit more generous, okay? Usually the examiners are not that generous, they're a bit,
Yeah.
biased. Okay, so I see that the question has a word influence. Okay, and you use the word influence in your answer, I think, more than 4 and 5 times, and I was expecting from you that you would probably use another word that means the same, influence. As you can see, that as the answer is given by a student, I think advertising
Okay.
affects the things that people buy. Okay. The student has not used the word, I think advertising influences the things people buy. Now, because you use the word influence in your answers so many times, I can see that, oh, I think he doesn't really have a good lexical resource, a range of good lexical resource, and he's using the same words all the time, isn't it? Hello?
Yeah.
So this is why
Yes, yes, you're right.
that would be a kind of an issue if you're restricting yourself using a less number of vocabulary. The second problem in your answer is that you are using less number of cohesive devices in your answer. I'm expecting that you use word like. However, if you're talking about an alternative approach, like you can see the student has used the word despite.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
can see that when he's giving the first reason, he says that the reason for this is that. Yes or no?
Okay.
And then when
Yes, you're
he's
right.
for the second reason, it says also the amount of thing he uses the word also. Take for example, when giving example, despite. Now, when I look at your answer, I can see that there is a lot of use of and. So you need to control the use of and but and try to have a range of linking words when you're giving your answers to part 3 of the speaking test. Okay. So these were the two major
Okay.
issues. So why not if I ask you now to give your answer one more time? Do you think advertising influences what people buy?
Yes. Advertising do influences people a lot because they are very persuasive and people are too much impressed or follow the television what has been said. They took it very seriously. For instance, uh, you have a product which is not so good, but in advertisement you have mentioned so many good things about it. So people will get agree or persuade to in order to buy that product, and they will. So secondly, and the second reason that because people think that the only source of information is the TV, and people and the advertisement people take advantage of it, that the more they advertise the product, the more the sales of that product they will get. So in order to influence it, they might end up doing some things which is not true about that particular product.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think
Thank you. Thank you.
that's I
Your
yeah.
answer should not be that long. Okay, that's fine. Although there
Yeah.
were a few grammatical errors, okay, but we can come back to them later on. What about you, Nigaran? Do you think advertising influences what people buy?
Yes, I do think that advertising can influence people to buy things impulsively. Basically, I think marketers use this strategy, advertising, to influence people to buy things. For example, marketers use advertising and use brand ambassadors. For example, I see a Q Mobile ad in which they used Sonam Kapoor, Kareena Kapoor, and which created a perception in a consumer mind that if I buy this thing, I can show these kind of attitude, or my standard will get high. So yes, I think it will definitely influence a consumer to buy things. But however, even sorry, however, thinking that advertising can influence a consumer, it cannot control a consumer, because being a consumer, if I am buying a thing, I will think many more things about this,
Okay, thank you.
if
Thank you.
even I have a
Thank you.
need for it or not.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yes, it advertising cannot control me.
Okay. Now you should be aware that what should be the length of your answer. You must not keep on. It's not actually a speech. So you should know that your answer has, has a, should be, not more than, let's say, 35 seconds or more. Okay, so
Okay.
that the exam is ready for
Okay.
the next question. Right.
Okay.
So you can well imagine, Farooq and Nigaran, that if you look at the question, do you think advertising influences what people buy? You can well imagine that the second part of the speaking test was about advertising, or you can well imagine that the topic
Yes.
for part of the speaking test about something that you bought recently. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I give you a topic, talk about any product that you bought recently, and you talked about, for example, a mobile phone, you talked about computer, you talked about a watch, or anything that you bought. Okay, and as I said in part three of the speaking test, the examiner will ask you questions which are connected thematically with part two of the speaking test, but the nature of the questions are more abstract. But the nature of the question is more abstract, um, and the more general. So I'm not asking you a question about the thing that you bought in part three, but I'm talking about some general question about what people buy in general. So I asked you a question like, do you think advertising influences what people buy? So this question is connected thematically with part two of the speaking test. And this is a general question.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a question where you which is based on abstract ideas and abstract information. So remember that the examiner will ask you questions which are general but connected with part two of the speaking test. Now, what I would like you to do is exactly is that um, because you just talked about an activity that you like doing, okay? Can you think of a general question that you could be asked by examiner in part three of the speaking test about an activity that you like doing? Can you think of a general questions about this activity, about this topic?
For to convert this into the part 3.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of question you expect that the examiner might ask you if you probably did talk about this topic in the second part of your speaking test?
Positive effect on people.
Sorry? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So what so the question is that, do you think that healthy activity can bring positive effect on people?
Okay, can you please write your question on a piece of paper?
Okay.
Okay, Nigaran, can you think of one general question that you think you could be asked in part three of the speaking test if you were given this topic?
Yes. Describe an activity which people around you like the most, doing like the most.
Or can you make your question be more specific? What do you think about the activities people do? How's that?
Yes. Means
Mhm.
that the activity which I usually see people around me is doing,
Okay, now not
like
not people around you.
children's playing.
Yeah, I think you should ask a question in more, which is more, which is more general. You can ask question like,
More gen-
what do you think, what kind of activities people do generally in your society when they're free?
Yes.
So can
Yes.
you think of a question and write down a question on a piece of paper, please? Okay, are you done,
Okay.
Farooq?
Yes, I have written.
Okay, what was your question? Can you please come back with the question again?
Do you think the healthy activity can bring positive effect on people?
Okay, can you think of one more question for the same topic?
Okay. Do you think that uh, a healthy activity for is important in daily routine life?
Okay, can you please write down this question on a piece of paper?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Nigaran, are you done with your question?
No, wait a minute. Yes.
Okay, Nigaran, can you please read your question?
Yes. What activity people in your society usually do in free time?
Okay. Nigaran, can you think of one more question?
About this topic?
Yep, that's right.
Yes.
Okay, are you ready?
Wait.
Okay, Farouk, are you ready? Yes.
Yes, I have written the question.
Okay, can you please read both of your questions?
Okay. Do you think healthy activity can bring positive effect on people? That's the question one. Question two is, do you think healthy activity is important in daily routine life?
Okay, excellent. Okay, Nigaran, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, what are your two questions? If you can read them to me, please.
One is what activity people in your society usually do in
Mm-hmm.
free time. Number two, is it important for people to do extracurricular activity for a
Excellent.
healthy lifestyle?
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Now, Nigaran, just imagine that you are a candidate, okay? And this is your IELTS speaking test now, part three, okay?
Yes.
And imagine that, Farooq, you are examiner, and you have two questions for part three of the speaking test. So you take a role of examiner, and Nigaran, you take a role of a candidate. So, Farooq, can you please ask the two questions that you have designed on a piece of paper? And Nigaran, you will have to use the same approach that we have just learned now.
Okay. You mean a friend will ask me and I have to answer his question and he has to answer my question?
And then, yes, so right now you have a role of a candidate, and Farooq has the role of
Okay.
examiner, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you think healthy activity can bring positive effect in people?
Yes, I think healthy activity is very important to have a healthy lifestyle because nowadays people are very busy doing their daily jobs. People are doing 9 to 5 jobs. They are not indulge in any kind of exercise. So it is very important to have any kind of extracurricular activities. For example, playing football, playing cricket, or anything like outdoor activities, or doing going to gym. So I think it is important. However, I can think that if you are not having time to have any activity out and not getting time to get indulge in yourself in an activity, you can have a better lifestyle even if you are not doing any exercise.
Well, Nigaran, that was excellent. That was really wonderful. But I have a piece of advice for you. Number one,
Yes.
as I said earlier, that the words that are used by examiner in the question, you
Yes.
must rephrase them.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, Farooq, what was your question again?
Do you think healthy activity can bring positive effect on people?
Okay. Now, positive effect. So try to rephrase these words. And do you think the word thing can also be rephrased? So instead of thing, you can say, for example, yes, I believe that. I
Okay.
reckon. Okay. Okay. Can you ask second question, Farooq?
Do you think healthy activity is important in daily routine life?
Do you think, what is the question?
Do you think healthy activity is important in daily routine life?
Yes, I think that healthy activity is very essential in your routine life, uh, because the reason is this, that uh, you actually the answer will be same because the question is almost same. The reason is this, that nowadays people are very busy in their routine life. They are working their jobs, and for 9 to 5, and they do not have yet any time for their to maintain, to do any kind of activities. So yes, it is important, but yes, you can alternate it, that if, for example, if you do not have time to go to the gym or play any kind of outdoor games, you can do any kind of activity while sitting, while doing your work. Like, for example, when you are sitting in your office, you can do certain kind of exercises while even you are sitting. So yes, it
That's
is
fine.
important.
Okay, that was good. Okay. Now, Nigara, you are the examiner, and Farooq, you are the candidate. Can we start now?
Yes, what activity people in your society usually do in free time?
Well, there are lots of activities people do in their spare time, which includes depends on the people's choice. Some do sports, some do some extra recreational activities. So I'm going to discuss the sports one. People usually play sports like cricket or basketball in order in order to in order to do the exercise and in order to get fit, because a healthy body is a healthy mind. So that's uh, that's the activity people usually do, because it consists of lots of body work, and your energy is consumed a lot, and uh, and your body is redefined by doing that. So
Next
that is
question.
it.
Okay.
Is it important for people to do extracurricular activity for a healthy lifestyle?
Yes, it is important for the people, for the healthy lifestyle, to have some sort of positive activity in their daily routine life. For instance, some people like swimming, some people like to play some sports, or I think it should be the activity should be very much physical, and some mental as well, because you need a mental refreshment as well, and and doing that activity gives you a restart of your mind, because mind is an important factor to you to function.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now, you see that you've been asking questions, and both of you, have done reasonably a wonderful job. But I must tell you that this is not a monologue. This is not where you can just go on and on and on and on. You have to confine yourself within the specific format, the structure that is properly laid out on the screen that I'm sharing with you at the moment, and that is what, that is that's where you give the answer. Okay, number one, and then you give two reasoning examples, and then you provide an alternative approach, and that's all. Now remember, if you just go on and on and on and on, if you just like if you make your answer too much longer, I mean you should know that the length of speaking should not be more than 30-35 seconds.
Okay.
That's right. And imagine you find yourself in a situation where you're just talking and talking and talking. Okay, that would not be appropriate in part three of the speaking test. So remember that the size of your answer, the length of your answer should be specified, and you must not break that specific time barrier. I hope you understand that.
Okay.
Okay, now we understand that what exactly happens in the third part of the speaking test. We also see that how you need to respond to a question given asked by examiner in part three of the speaking test. And we can also see that this is quite a similar approach that we pursue in task two of IELTS writing task two. Okay. Now, what exactly I'm going to ask you to do now as an assignment, I'm going to give you both of you two different topics. And as an assignment, I'd like you to think about possible questions that you could possibly ask or that you could possibly be asked by examiner in part 3 of the speaking test. So here I'm going to give you two different topics. Okay, so Nigaran, I'd like you to please take the first topic, which is entertainment and leisure. Okay, you can write down the topics on a piece of a paper. That's entertainment and leisure. And your second topic is fashion.
Fashion.
Yep, that's right. Okay. So I'd like you to construct at least 3 sentences, sorry, at least 3 questions on these on each topic. The first one is entertainment, leisure, and the second one is fashion. And for you, your first topic is advertising. Okay.
Okay.
And your second topic is food and health. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Also, as a part of an assignment, because you see this this session is also being recorded, and I'll be sharing with you by the end of the day today. You can see that the last document contains some useful phrases. There's a table on the right hand side. You can see this column A. So left hand side we have column A, and right hand side we have column B. You have to match these expressions in column A and column B, which have same or similar meanings. So
Okay.
if you see the first one is it has both good or bad influence on,
Influence.
so you have to match it with one of the expressions in column B. So you can say that it can have both positive and negative or bad effect on. So that's how you match
Okay.
the expression with the same or similar meaning. Now, you can do this also as a part of your assignment. You need to match these expressions in column A and column B together. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
this is your assignment, and I look forward to seeing you then the day after tomorrow. You can revisit this recording as I'll share them with you, and you can also look at the flaws, the problems, the errors in your speaking, that how you actually did that.
Are you sending this sheet?
Now
That.
already, I'm sharing this screen with you, right? No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm recording this video. So when you watch the video, this will be
Okay.
with you already. You can review with it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
thank you very much, and I'll see you then. Okay.
Yeah, and please send the last one as well. It was based on, I think, on writing, which I was not there.
Okay. Okay. Let me check whether it was recorded or not, and I'll send it to you. No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you so much, and take care. Bye bye. See you
Bye-bye.
the day after tomorrow. We've already discussed the schedule for our next lesson, so then I'll see you then.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye. Assalamu alaikum.